What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and hey, we're coming in with a certified banger video here. I was debating on making this part of the Coke Chronicles, but honestly, I felt that this deserved to be its own video. This is a standalone event that, hey, it's kind of special, kind of like the Xanax Raisin Bran Crunch video, which for those of you guys who missed that, you're tweaking. Check that out in the description below. I'll link it for you guys. Also, before I go any further, I'm sorry, but I gotta do it. Sellout moment, baby. If you guys want to get a free $5 just by downloading an app, all you guys have to do is click the link in the description and download the app called Dosh using my link. It's a free cashback app. You will never be charged. All you have to do is download the app through my link in the description, connect an eligible debit or credit card. You'll never get charged, and you'll get $5 in your account, and I get $5 too. You can withdraw it. It's a cashback app, so when you spend your money at places like Chili's or Bed Bath & Beyond or wherever the fuck you're going, you can get 10%, 5% back through the app and then transfer it to your bank account. I personally have made over $3.5 grand off this app. You can look on the screen. I'm not kidding. You guys can make money too. This isn't sponsored. This is literally just me making money off the app. You guys can do the same thing. Download it in the description. Get your fucking bread, boys. We all cashing out on this app. All right, now, sellout moment. I apologize. Got to do what I got to do. But either way, get y'all's racks. Link in the top of the description. All you got to do is download the app for free. No concerns. Very easy money for both of us. But either way, without further ado, let's dive right into this video. So, this is the most Molly that I've ever done at one time. Now, I'm going to be mentioning psychedelics a lot in the coming episodes of Coke Chronicles for those of you guys who aren't caught up. Some of you may know that I mentioned having a psych plug in the Coke Chronicles episodes, fairly early on. And this is a result of that guy, but it isn't a Coke Chronicle, so I couldn't really put it in here. Basically, here's how this scenario played out. I ended up meeting a psychedelic plug who we're going to call... What are we going to call him? We're going to call him Walter. Walter was a really, not stereotypical drug dealer at all. I met him through Nathan, who's been mentioned in my previous Coke Chronicle episode, number 2, I believe it was, if you guys have watched that. I met him through Nathan because Nathan was grabbing a lot of psychedelics and different stuff off him, and as I saw him pulling up to serve Nathan all the time, I was kind of curious, and I asked him, I was like, hey, dude, what's that guy serve? Can you hook me up? I'm interested in what he's got, because every time he'd pull up to serve my buddy Nathan, he'd always have some fire shit, whether it was Molly, acid, a lot of interesting things, So, of course, my interest is peaked with the Molly. I wasn't really super down for the acid, mainly because I just didn't feel ready for it yet. And, hey, we'll get to that later. But either way, this guy had been bringing my buddy Nathan some really fire-looking Molly, and I tried some of it prior to this, and it looked great. So, I end up getting in contact with this guy. I get his Snapchat through my buddy Nathan, and I hit him up, I'm talking to him a little bit, and I make a couple grabs off him, right? I make a couple minor grabs, maybe just like a gram at a time, a gram and a half. Nothing crazy, like very, very low-end deals, Nothing to make this guy think like, wow, this is a customer I gotta keep. However, as I talked to this guy more, he was actually a super friendly guy. And at one point while I was in his car, doing a serve with him, we were just kind of chatting. He was asking me what I do for a living to afford buying the amount of Molly I did off this guy during my Coke binge, which I'll get to in another episode. And, I just explained, I didn't tell him I did YouTube, but I just explained to him hey, man, I work hard. That's all I really had to say to him. But he was a really nice guy, and, he was telling me a bit about himself, and he told me that he was working at a place where he could fix my phone, right? I was telling him how I had a fucked up iPhone X. He showed, he saw my screen when I got in his car. It was all cracked and shit, and he was like, oh, dude, I could fix that for you. And I'm like, oh, shit, for sure, I'll hit you up if I need that to happen, right? Don't think much of it, shake up with him, deal's over, hop out of the car, hop back in my car and dip, right? Now, this was just a normal grab. What I ended up doing was I still had this iPhone X, and I got a new 7 Plus to replace it, because the 7 Plus was $300 fucking bucks or some shit through Sprint. It was really cheap for some reason, and the 7 Plus is a dope fucking phone, so of course I'm copping that shit. So instead of getting my X fixed, I just bought a 7 Plus, and just paid off the rest of what I owed on the X and kept it because it wasn't completely destroyed. Just the screen was absolutely annihilated on it. Like prior to or after, linking up with the plug here, Walter, I'd completely dropped the phone and shattered the screen, right? So I was debating on just getting rid of the thing, but I had another friend who we're going to call, what are we going to call this guy? We're going to call him Benjamin because that's really the only name I can think of for this guy. Really smart dude, and he was good at fixing phones. And one of my buddies, my ex-friend Tim, for those of you guys who watched my fucking Robbed by My Friend video, I hate to say his name, fuck that kid, but nevertheless, Tim referred me to him and said like, oh, he's really good at fixing phones, he knows his shit. So I decided to go through Tim instead of my plug to see what kind of prices I could get to get my X fixed, because the idea behind it was I was going to get the phone fixed for cheaper because it's through a guy that is in a shop, and maybe I could flip it for some profit, right? So I hit up, what's his face? Oh God, what's the name I gave him? Fucking Benjamin? Yeah, Benjamin's the name I gave him. Pardon me, I'm mixing up the names. But nevertheless, I hit up Benjamin. I'm like, yo, dude, I got an iPhone X. It's really fucked up on the screen. Like, you can't really use it. Do you think you could take a look at it and fix it? He's talking to me. He's nice. He's a pretty chill guy. I've known him since high school. Just never really hung out with him at all. Completely different guy than he was in high school. In high school, he was just like a smart, kind of nerdy guy. I meet up with this guy for the first time to talk about the phone. He's talking about going to like Lollapalooza and like smoking dope. Not Lollapalooza, but like some show in like Milwaukee or something fairly recently. But nevertheless, I'm like, all right, man. I paid him the money up front. He told me it was going to be like $300, if I remember correctly. I don't remember off the top of my head because the back glass was also shattered. It wasn't just the front. He had to replace both the back and the front glass, which honestly, I looked up the prices online and that was a fire fucking deal, right? So I'm like, bet, man. I give him the money. Takes him about a week, a little under a week to get my phone back to me. It was completely fucked up. He showed me like Snapchats of the whole process and he did a great fucking job, right? So now I got this iPhone X in my hands. And I have no idea what to do with it. I'm hitting up people. They don't want to buy it. However, I remember that my Molly plug is a guy who works or claimed he worked at a repair shop that does electronics. So I hit him up and I'm like, yo, dude, are you into the resale market of like cell phones and stuff? I got a brand new iPhone X. I told him I got the front screen replaced. I didn't tell him about the back. Sorry, bud. But nevertheless, I told him I got the front screen replaced and it was in perfect working condition, factory reset and everything, like my own phone. I can prove it. And he was pretty interested in it. Now, since it was used, I got a fairly good deal from him. We were negotiating a little bit, and he lowballed me pretty hard at first. He offered me an eighth of Molly, and I was like, man, that's not going to cut it for an iPhone X, Like, I don't want to go sell this on eBay. I don't want to go sell this, on a, like, OfferUp or some shit. I'd way rather go through the dude who can give me some drugs that I could flip and make some money. But at the same time, like, an eighth was way too low. So we ended up bartering. I got him up to 5.5 grams, right? Which I feel is a very fair price for an iPhone X. I think I gave him a good deal. I really do. But nevertheless, I was happy with the deal we struck. I link up with him. We shake up, I show him the phone, unlock it for him, show him everything's reset and it worked, showed him the serial number and everything. And, it was a very legitimate business transaction. Now I'm walking out of here with 5.5 grams of goddamn MDMA. Me being me, it's real hard to control myself off 5.5 grams of MDMA. This is the most I'd had at one time because typically I would just buy a gram and split it with some buddies and that was that. I was never buying bulk MDMA. I was never doing this until now. So of course I go back to Nathan's garage, right? I'm with Kevin at this point. And I'm looking at these rocks. He gave me beautiful rocks. And this plug, his signature thing, he wraps his bags in notebook paper, which is a little cheap considering he probably makes good money. But whatever, man. Hey, the product is delivered. So either way, I go back to Nathan's garage after this transaction, right? And I'm with Kevin at this point. I link up with Kevin pretty much immediately after I sell the iPhone to the dude, right? I link up with Kevin, show him what I got. Kevin's like, oh shit, we're getting lit. We go over to Nathan's garage. Now, we have a scale in there, but it's really shoddy because the batteries are old. Like, if you leave the money or whatever you're scaling to calibrate the scale on there, the weight will just keep going up or down. Like, it will fluctuate without any movement, right? So we're just kind of eyeballing this Molly. I estimate that I took probably a 0.3 or a 0.35 of just straight crystal. Like, it wasn't even capped up. Like, it was literally rocks. I just put it in my mouth. I don't recommend you try this at home. That's a very unsafe dosage. However, Nathan's garage was a really chill environment. You know, he played the guitar, and normally I'm not big on the music, but hey, when you're rolling, that kind of stuff is pretty cool, you know, and I didn't mind his taste in music. So he had a nice speaker set up in there. We each eat our doses of Molly. I'm pretty sure myself and Nathan ate more than me. That guy's a Molly animal. That guy eats like a disgusting amount of drugs, but like he's one guy where like I don't know if I could compete with him in psychedelics for sure. Weed, yeah, but psychedelics, hey man, he might have me topped. But nevertheless, I eat this 0.3, maybe even a little more than a 0.3, which is way too much for what I should have been doing. But mind you, this was in the middle of the coke binge, so I was really reckless. Luckily, on this night, I didn't do very much blow during my roll because I was just kind of enjoying myself. Basically, you know, once we get the speaker going, we're all chilling in there. About 30, 45 minutes pass, and I start feeling really good. For those of you guys who are familiar with how rolling feels or have watched my older videos and heard me explain, it's, you know, the amount that I'd taken was much more than I was used to taking. Normally, I cut myself off at a 0.2 or maybe a 0.25. And with Molly dosage, every point is a big difference, right? Every point's a very big difference. So from going to a 0.2, 0.25 average dose to an extra point added onto that, that's a big deal, you know, especially because I wasn't rolling super hard prior to that. You know, I wasn't doing doses anywhere near that prior to that. So I'm sitting in this guy's garage, sweating balls off, and Nathan's laughing at me. He's looking at me and he's like, dude, you're actually pouring. He went inside and grabbed me a towel. Nice dude. And you know, he grabs me a towel, comes back out, wraps it around my neck. Very nice guy, you know, very, very hospitable, if that's the right word for it. And we're all chilling in there. I'm wiping my forehead with this towel, and it's like we're all sweating equally. Like, I'm not the only sweaty bastard in here. We all ate Molly in the middle of the summer in a guy's garage, and we're sitting there drinking some beers. He had some, you know, some cold brews. It was a good night. We're playing some cards, you know, and in my opinion, that's the best way to roll, you know, when you're rolling fucking balls. Just chill out with the homies, sip some brews, and play some cards. Now, at first, it was a very smooth roll. At first, it was just like, hey, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling the body sensation, you know, like, I don't want to call it euphoria, but I guess the best way I can think of to put it is when that, like, that euphoria, that like happiness feeling is going through your like veins. You feel it physically, not mentally, you know? It's a very cool experience. Not encouraging trying Molly though. Don't do it, kids. But nevertheless, I was starting to feel better and better as the night went on. You know, we're sipping some brews. I wasn't drinking enough to get drunk because when I'm rolling, I don't like drinking that much. Typically when I'm rolling, I just really like smoking, if I'm being honest. I know it's kind of counterproductive, but the act of smoking a blunt is fucking lit when you're rolling. But nevertheless, as the night goes on, the music continually gets better no matter what genre it is, right? And we're still playing cards, but I feel myself rolling balls. My jaw is fucking locked. I'm sitting like, here's the thing. This might be a speculation. This isn't based on fact, but I've noticed that a lot of people who do lower tier Molly, you know, they take flats or they take flats as in ecstasy, for those of you guys who aren't familiar with the term. When they take flats or they take like powdered up Molly, I've noticed a lot that they like, instead of like jaw locking, they wiggle their chin, if that makes sense. Like, do you guys know what I'm talking about with that? That might just be a me thing, but I was noticing throughout the night, we had a buddy there who I haven't named yet. We're going to call him Sheen. And Sheen is a guy who is known for doing damn near any drug you can give him. He pulled up out of the blue. We didn't even know he had a car. He just arrived there. And Sheen is doing the fucking weird jaw wiggle thing. And we're all like, dude, what drugs have you done? And he's like, Molly, man. And he's sitting saying that to a whole room of guys rolling balls. And none of us are doing that activity. And he got it from a different source, of course. He didn't get it from us. which makes me believe it might have had a little bit of meth in it. But nevertheless, he had a good time too. You know, we kicked it for the night, listened to some good music, smoked a couple blunts, and you know, Nathan is a joint connoisseur. Whenever we go in there, he kind of like my friend Chris, if you guys know him, which I assume most of you do, where he's the really good blunt roller. He loves rolling whenever I'm hanging out with him. Maybe doesn't love it, but I guess he doesn't complain about it. So shout out to him. But nevertheless, Nathan is the opposite. He's the joint man. Like if you have a joint paper and some weed, and then you lay a blunt out, you'll really have to debate this motherfucker to not get him to roll the joint, because he will go all forces ahead to convince you to roll that fucking joint. And it's an interesting scenario, but nevertheless, we were smoking joints, blunts. It was a great fucking night. And you know, my jaw's fucking locked. I'm sweating balls the whole night, enjoying the music, and we didn't really leave or go anywhere. At one point, we were playing King's Corner, and one of the, if you guys aren't familiar with King's Corner, it's a card game where if you draw, I'm not going to explain all the rules, but if you draw a certain card, right? If you pull one of the wrong cards, you get to make a rule, and the rule can be anything you want, right? So, for example, you can say, oh, I drew a jack, so the next person who... I believe the rule card's a 4. Either way, you guys will get the premise. Let's say I drew a 4. If I draw a 4 out of the pile, then I can say, all right, the rule is the next person to draw like a 6 has to go ding-dong ditch the next door neighbor, and they have to do it. So it's a really fun game when we're rolling balls and fucked up, and we're playing that, and of course, I'm the dickhead who has to fucking ding-dong ditch. So lo and behold, me and my buddy, we fucking get up, sprint over to the neighbor's house, and slam that doorbell at like, I don't even know what time it was, probably 1 in the goddamn morning, and it was just a shit show. We saw the lights turn on, we flew back across the street. Luckily, nothing happened, but it was a hilarious evening, and you know, the emphasis of this video wasn't how hard I was fucking rolling, because yeah, I was rolling balls, but at the same time, I hit that kind of plateau phase where I knew I was rolling really hard, but I wasn't rolling too hard to control myself, if that makes sense. I was rolling almost at that perfect level where I could just have a good time, you know, sip some brews, smoke some blunts, and kick it with the homies. So, nevertheless, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry if it got a little long. Code Chronicles 5 will be dropping ASAP. I would say tomorrow, but I'm terrible at making promises, but hey, it might come tomorrow. I'll do my best, guys. But thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.